Today we're going to be reviewing the wheelchair accessibility of 3 fast food places, McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King. My name's Rebecca. I'm a full-time wheelchair user, quadriplegic from the neck down from a ski accident, if you don't know who I am at this point. And yes, I got a haircut, and yes, today I'm using my ventilator to make it a little bit easier to talk. When it comes to wheelchair accessibility, there are varieties of wheelchairs. So I operate a power wheelchair, meaning that my wheelchair uses a battery to be operated and I don't push it myself. So it's a lot bulkier than a manual wheelchair. Manual wheelchairs can often get over small bumps, even stairs if needed, because they're light enough to be tilted back or lifted over stairs or bumps, and power wheelchairs cannot do that. On the other hand, power wheelchairs can also go on steep uphills, and manual wheelchairs might be a little bit harder to push up a hill yourself. So there are differences in the abilities of these different chairs. So that might play a factor in reviewing wheelchair accessibility. The 3 specific things I look for when rating wheelchair accessibility of locations. Firstly, I look for parking. There needs to be ample number of wheelchair accessible spots or handicap spots where a ramp can open up and I can get out. Some people don't have a ramp for their car, then that's fine. They don't need the 6 feet of space, but I personally do, because the ramp is very long and then I have to have enough room for my chair to get out without my feet hitting the car next to me if there is a car or a wall there. I also look for the bathrooms. I like for the bathrooms to have railings, enough space for my chair, and a sink that someone can wheel under, wash their hands if needed, and the doors should be easy enough to open. I also look for how easy it is to access the location from point A to point B, which is usually the parking spot, to the counter or getting inside and sitting at a table and accomplishing the task at hand, which in this case would be ordering food or a drink. So those are the 3 things I focus on. Let's start with McDonald's. These locations are all on Long Island where I live, so I cannot talk about these places as in whole, but these only specific locations. This McDonald's had great parking. There were enough spaces with blue slash lines for the ramp to open up, and there was enough space for me to get out as well as the ramp, and I was able to get right onto the curb. An employee let me in through the side door, which is technically the exit, but they do allow people to use it for an entrance, I believe, if you have a wheelchair. So that's what happened here. But I want to also get a video of the entrance as well, so just that you could see that it was a little bit harder to navigate the entrance. There are 2 doors, and it's very tight for me to make the turn, especially when the door is open, and there are no buttons to open the doors if I was able to push a button myself, or if I had a service dog that could push the button for me. They did not have that in this case. It was very easy to make an order. They were able to hear me perfectly fine. It wasn't too loud in there. There's plenty of space. McDonald's, of course, has an app where I can order online if needed, if that's easier for me. We, of course, had to get fries, and they were delicious and salty and not soggy. I totally forgot to video the bathroom for this location, so I apologize for that. But unfortunately, I'm only able to assess 2 of the 3 items on my task list. All right, now we're at Wendy's, and this location also had perfect parking. I was able to open up my ramp and get out easily and get on this curb. However, the entrance is all the way on the other side of the building, which makes things a little more difficult. But it was nice weather out, so that did help. But what if it wasn't? That would make things more complicated. And navigating the sidewalk was a little bit tricky because, of course, they stick this wonderful pole here, which gets in my way, and I have to make sure I maneuver on the outside of the pole, but also not go over the curb and tip over, because that would result in possibly a very severe injury. So I did have to go to the side of it and be careful, but I did do that. And then going in, there were 2 doors to get in. Of course, no button to open the door, as per usual. And if there was, that would be more helpful. But I did have someone to open the door for me. Thank you, Cammie. And I was able to make my order easily. We got a cookie, and the bathrooms had a railing and ample space for someone to wheel under the sink if needed. And the door that's easy to open, easy to exit the Wendy's as well. Lastly, let's look at this Burger King location. Pulling into this Burger King, we could not find a single handicap spot to park in, so we parked in a regular spot where I got out. And then when I was going into the location, we discovered that there are handicap spots on the other side. But we would have had to drive around the whole building to find those spots. So it's strange that the handicap spots are not closer to where you can pull in, or there's not a sign that maybe says wheelchair accessible or handicap accessible parking spots on the other side. But once we did get to these spots, they were very easy to get out, and the entrance was right there, which was nice. But I do think they could put up some signage or some sort of direction that there are wheelchair accessible spots around the other side of the building, because we couldn't find them originally. And going to this Burger King, it was pretty easy, enough space to chill out. We were able to order chicken fries, which I had never had, and they were actually really good. And there was plenty of space for me to pull my wheelchair up, and they even gave me a crown, which I was really happy about.
There you go. We'll zoom in on the Burger King crown.
The bathrooms were accessible. There were railings, the sink to wheel under, and enough space for a bulky chair like mine, so I appreciate that. After reviewing the wheelchair accessibility of these 3 places, there are some recommendations I would make. I think that Burger King can indicate where the wheelchair accessible or handicap spots are. It is hard to find them pulling in. And overall, none of these locations had buttons to open the doors, and they did have multiple doors to get in. So it would be a lot easier if there was a button that would open the door automatically. I don't know why this can't be implemented. These places are multi-billion-dollar corporations, and they have lots of money to do this. On the positive side, also, I appreciate the fact that all these places are spacious on the inside and enough room for my wheelchair to pull up to a table. And they also all have apps, or I could download the app and order online if needed, so that makes things really, really easy. But overall, I do think McDonald's was the most accessible because it didn't have the barriers that Wendy's had, such as the pole, and Burger King that didn't have the parking spots around the side. But other than that, they're all pretty similar, probably because they are such large corporations and they have to cater to a large variety of people. So next time, I'm probably going to try to rate somewhere local in my area and see how that goes. Comment what you think I should rate, and if there's any points that I'm missing when it comes to wheelchair accessibility that I could focus on.